Okay, bud, let's do it. What's up, y'all? Another edition, Saturday edition of Morning Scone. Appreciate you for being here. Lot we're going to get to today, including plenty of Q&A. If y'all want to jump aboard with that, certainly we welcome it. Post your comments. As always, we're brought to you by Boudreaux's, the Bloody Mary Mix, Margarita Mix. Heading into your weekend. Galaga! Drew's here as well, so I know that'll fire some of y'all up because y'all think he's the best part of the show, which he probably is. Most entertaining for sure. Bruce, good morning. Robert, good morning. Carrie, good morning. Good to see y'all. We will get to a bunch of Q&A I'll mention, so I'll wait some more y'all jump on. If you want to hit some questions, feel free to fire away. Truck. You'll see Papa's truck later. Drew loves Papa's truck. You'll see it later tonight. Travis McGraw, good morning. Tim Davis, good morning. Wait a few seconds here. Let a few more people jump on board. And let Drew come say hi. Hey, bud. And he's just going to drop the phone case. Right? Is that all we're going to do? Drop the phone case? Okay. Turn this back then. All right, so let's see. A couple things I want to get to today. Josh, good morning. Coach Ken, good morning. Janet, good morning. Going to the pool. We were in the pool last night. He's going to want to go again today. Hey, are you going to go swim in the pool? That's right. All right, so you probably heard yesterday, if you listened to AFR or if you watched any news or you've been online. Hey, go Bubba. Gigantic news for LSU football. I don't know that there's any other way to say it. That the NCAA has reopened Kristian Fulton's case. So a lot of you have asked about that pretty consistently since Ross Dellinger's report, and it was important to note that people were asking for a decision from the NCAA. Well, there was no decision because the case wasn't open. They had made their decision on Fulton. It was a 2-year ban, and they had no obligation at all to reopen this case. The Fulton family had retained an attorney to try to get the NCAA to consider what they said was new evidence, forensics with his urine sample and all that stuff, and what they say is the chain of custody, sort of how it was the urine sample was transitioned. Now that feels very much like a technicality, but at this point I don't care. I feel very strongly about it that a 2-year ban, half of a kid's eligibility, is way too excessive. When you have guys that fail recreational drug tests all the time and get away with it, don't suffer any penalty. When a guy like Jeffrey Simmons at Mississippi State can be caught on video like punching a woman on the concrete, and he misses 1 game to open a season against a no-name. And Kristian Fulton tried to use somebody else's pee, and by the way, and passed the test anyway with his own pee. 2 years, it's absurd. It's just absurd. So I want that kid to be able to play, and it's not just that LSU needs another corner and he's a really good player. I'll side with student athletes, and the fact that he already sat a year. It's not like he's getting away without any penalty. He's missed a year of football, an entire year of his eligibility. That's enough, and he needs to be able to play. So I'm glad the NCAA has reopened the case. The report was from Ross Dellinger at SI, and apparently Ross tweeted that they could hear the case by the end of next week or maybe earlier. So, if all goes well, man, that opens the door for the possibility for him to be eligible. So. Man, it'd be awesome if it was. We'll talk about why, like the football, from a football perspective here in a second. So, Cruz, good morning. Brandon, good morning. Tyler D, the wild man, Tyler D. Justin Hutchinson, Hunt Palmario, good morning. Chris Tremblay, good morning as well. Coach Kent said, crap, laughed at your should-have rant yesterday. Well, tell you what, man, people can't understand. For those that missed it yesterday on the show, went off with some guy who was... He took a shot at me, but in so doing, he said should've, OF. It's like, and so I went on a rant. Like people that don't understand contractions, it just kills me. It's not should OF. It's SHOULD apostrophe VE. It's should have. Like, just think about what you're spelling. Anyway, I ranted about it yesterday. Apparently, it was pretty funny. Good morning, Curtis. Nick Morrell. Good morning, dude. Hope you're doing well. So the Fulton thing is, let me real quick just talk about it from an on-field aspect with Fulton. I think because Greedy's been so good, we forget Kristian Fulton was the highest ranked prospect in LSU signing class 2 years ago in the 247 composite. He was number 22 overall in the country. He was a 5-star corner. And I've had people on LSU's staff tell me that they think Fulton is a better prospect than Greedy. Now, that sounds stupid right now because Greedy's going to be a top half of round 1 pick, might be the first cornerback taken. But when you understand what his talent level is, he's still been practicing with the team, so they still see him every day. It's not that far-fetched to think that he could be a really good lockdown corner on one side of the field, if not the best guy they have. And that's massive because, man, like LSU going into the season, you know you got Greedy, and then in the secondary, you don't have any other dudes that are proven. A lot of people brought up Grant Delpit yesterday, and look, I like Grant Delpit a lot. But let's, like, maybe this is just semantics, but Greedy's going to be a top half of round 1 pick, okay? Grant Delpit just finished his freshman season where he became a starter and was a really good player, and I think he will continue to be a really good player. But right now, like, Grant Delpit's not on any All-SEC teams. Greedy's on All-America teams, okay? So, I mean, just maybe, like I said, maybe it's semantics, but just, you know, just to clear the air. You put Fulton on the field opposite Greedy, now you've got 2 number 1 corners. You got 2 lockdown corners on the field. And then you can bring guys like Kerry Vincent along, and you can bring Jontre Kirkland along, and you don't need necessarily Manny Netherly to give you meaningful snaps from switching from wide receiver to cornerback. And Terrence Alexander can be a role player like he had been at Stanford. If you want to leave Kelvin Joseph at safety, you can do that instead of moving him to corner. It makes things so much easier. So it just answers a giant question. Nick, good morning. Aunt Sharon, good morning. Good to see you. Robert said, good morning. Was Fulton allowed to practice? Yeah, so Fulton's been practicing with the team the whole time. He just couldn't play. He couldn't even be on the sideline. So if he wanted to go to a game, he'd have to buy a ticket and go sit in the stands. But in Ross Dellinger's piece, in the spring, he said, like, his dad said, like, Fulton never went to a game. So I hadn't watched LSU play since his suspension. C. King, a lot of the players said Fulton's best cover corner on the team. That's scary. Yeah, but yeah, it's not. I mean, you obviously have to see what it looks like in game action. So I'm not being reactive here. But again, you're talking about a guy physically that has all the tools, was a 5-star, and has been practicing with the team. So it's not like he's coming from being away from football and trying to get into game shape, sort of thing. Kerry, good morning. Buddy Chasson, good morning. Let's see. C said Kelvin Joseph has been called the 3rd best corner according to those in the know. Somebody's lying to you. See. Anyway. All right, one more thing I want to get to. We'll get to your questions. So fire away with questions if you got them. Post them, and I'll come back to them in a second. The other thing I want to talk about, so that's like the really good news. The bad news, this was at CBS Sports. I saw Barrett Sallee publish this. And I like Barrett. I know a lot of LSU fans think that he's a hater, but he's just publishing the report. So Bet Online, which is an offshore online sports book, Bet Online published the odds on which SEC coach will be fired first. You can probably guess who is at the top of the list. Ed Ogeron with 9-4 odds. It surprises me, man. It really surprises me. It shouldn't, but it does. I'll tell you why. Barry Odom was second at 5-2. Then Derek Mason 5-1. Matt Luke 6-1. Mark Stoops 7-1. Big gap. Malzahn, Muschamp, and Pruitt at 20-1. And then you got the new coaches: Moorhead, Chad Morris, Dan Mullen, all at 33, and 50-1. Kirby Smart, Jimbo, and Nick are all at 50-1 as well. I'll tell you why it surprises me. I asked this question. I'm going to come back to y'all's question in a second. I asked this question at SEC Media Days to everybody who asked me about if Ed would get fired. Like, every interview, I probably did 50 interviews on Radio Row. Like, literally, I went back and counted. I think it was around 50. If people would ask me if Ed was going to get fired, I would say, can you recall any coach ever at a Power 5 getting fired without cause after 2 years? And nobody could think of any. I'm not talking about like Mike Price or George O'Leary falsifying his resume and getting fired. I'm talking about like you coach for a year or two, you stink, and they fire you. Typically, guys get 3 years. I mean, Ellis Johnson at Southern Miss coached one season, went 0-12, and they fired him. That's Southern Miss. And they brought in Larry Fedora, and that paid off. But like Ty Willingham at Notre Dame was 3 years, and Charlie Strong at Texas was 3 years. I mean, we've seen teams go 3 years. 2 would be something I can't ever remember seeing. So I mean, Vegas doesn't put out odds like that with the eye on losing money. So clearly, they're getting information from somewhere where they feel like those are respectable odds. But I'll put it to you this way, because people, for some reason, the other thing that was odd about being at Media Days, not only did people ask about Ed, but they also asked about Joe Oliva. And it's so rare that you ever hear people ask about an athletic director. Like, does the average fan know who the new Auburn athletic director is, who replaced Jay Jacobs, or who the Missouri athletic director is, or who the South Carolina athletic director? No. I mean, why would you? Typically, you don't know who athletic directors. Well, South Carolina's Ray Tanner was the former baseball coach, so that's different. But like Tennessee's Phil Fulmer, that was a big to-do when it happened. But typically, when those things happen, they happen out of the public spotlight. But everybody was asking about Joe, and I'll put it to you this way: if Joe Oliva's contract, and this isn't me stumping for anybody to get fired, this is me just explaining this. Joe Oliva's contract ends in July of 2019. They have not yet renewed or extended his contract. So a year from now, Joe's contract ends. So he's essentially a lame duck athletic director, which I know he doesn't want to be. So the question kind of is, if you're Joe, do you just work the remaining year of your contract and then it expires? If you're LSU, or if you're Joe, do you try to get a different job? Like sort of to stay ahead of the resume. And if you're LSU, do you extend him? Which it doesn't look like they're going to do, because the board would have done that at their June meeting. Like the board of supervisors had a meeting last month and they could have extended Joe Oliva. They didn't. Or do you fire him? I mean, so if it gets to a point where they fire Joe, let's just say that happens, then Ed loses his safety net. Because Joe hired Ed, he's not going to fire him. If Joe's gone and Ed loses his safety net, and then they have that rough season, then I could see it happen. But it feels really far. It's hard for me to believe that LSU's going to fire its coach after 2 years. And I don't think they should, quite honestly. And I wasn't a fan of the hire. And some have said, "Hey, man, move on from the quicker you move on from a mistake, the better." And there's some validity to that, but you also have to give the guy a chance to build a program. And I think the instability that moving after 2 years would cause, it's hard to gauge that. But it's interesting when you have national publications printing that stuff. So let's get some of y'all's stuff. Hey, Bud. Eric Hammond. Good morning, Matt. Do you like the change of the NCAA drop in the ban since they are reopening the case? Do you like the changes of the NCAA dropping the ban? I guess that's chances. I don't know, Eric. And the reason they're reopening it is considered new evidence, but I hope that they do change this rule. Oh, and Drew locked himself out. Buddy, it's okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm moving slow, y'all. I hurt my back. I've had like a bad back since I was like 14 years old. It flared up on me this week. So, Kobe, good morning. Colby, good morning. Daniel, is there a legit shot getting him back? There's just no chance to plead his case. Daniel, I'll put it to you this way, and I'll go back to what we said. Like, the NCAA did not have to reopen the case. It was done. The case was closed. It had been ruled upon. It was over. They were not obligated to reopen it, hear any of this stuff. So, yeah, it's legit. And I'll tell you, the people at LSU feel like there's a really good chance that they're going to get Kristian Fulton eligible. So, certainly his attorney does, but attorneys always think they're going to win. So, Matt, good morning. Patty, good morning. Andrew, does Fulton solve the depth issue at cornerback for LSU if he gets cleared? He absolutely solves the starter. It's not even close because it's Greedy and Fulton, and then fill in the blanks. Then you can let the other guys become rotational players and find where they fit best. But that's like, can you understand how different this conversation is when I have people trying to sell me on Manny Netherly, the guy who just in spring moved from wide receiver, about how quickly he's picked up corner and how he can flip his hips. And I'm like, never played a down of corner in his life, and you're trying to sell me on him as an SEC cornerback? Come on, man. Hang on. Drew. What's the matter, Bubba? Come see. Hey, why are you fussing? No, don't fuss. Hey. Calica! Come see Daddy. Hey, look, come on the show. You want to tell everybody hi? No, we're not going to fuss this morning. Nope. We're not going to fuss. What do you want, baby? Clapping. Yeah. Oh, yay? Yay for Drew. Hey, listen, I have to tell you something. Shh, I have to tell you something. Listen, we're going to do Daddy's show. After Daddy is on the show, we are going to go for a ride in the car. And then we'll go swim in the pool. And then you'll take a nap, okay? And after your nap, Daddy is going to take you to Mimi and Papa's house, and you will see Papa's truck. The truck. Yes, you will. All right. Gets him every time. Loves Papa's truck. Gets him every time. Okay. Ryan, good morning. If Fulton gets reinstated, not out of the possibility of 2 corners drafted in the first round. From a talent standpoint, maybe, but I'll put it to you this way. If you're an NFL team, are you really going to draft someone in the first round who played 1 year of football and also who has that baggage behind him? They'd vet him, no doubt, but he would have to have a really special year for that to happen. Really special year for that to happen. And my assumption is if you're Fulton, if you're eligible, you're certainly coming back for 2019, unless if he's just like, I've wasted so much time, let me just get to the league and try to make a team. It was different than a guy like, remember Rashard Robinson was similar. He had similar issues and just went to the league and got picked, but 49ers made a team. Maybe Fulton goes that route, but I don't think so. Then again, I don't know him well enough so to know what he would do. But getting ahead of ourselves. Still has to get eligible. Kippers, good morning. Justin Husky, if O gets fired, it's a damn shame. Give the man a true chance to cook his own groceries. Man will mess up the 19th class. Jesus, take the wheel. The flip side of that is you don't make a coaching decision based on a recruiting class. You don't, ever. You can overcome a bad recruiting class because it's only a quarter of your roster. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can do it. And the other thing to keep in mind also is with the new December signing period, a lot of these guys make their decisions now and they're done, because they don't go on visits during their senior season. And so they sign in December and then they enroll in January. So I wouldn't worry about that as much, quite honestly. Kevin says, Matt, I'm getting excited about football season. I'm really excited about the potential of this LSU team. Does that make me a Pazza Tiger? That's cool. No, this is, I hope Hunt's still watching, Hunt Palmer, because he says this all the time. It's like there's always this period after spring when you get over whatever issues your team had in spring, you start to pick up some recruiting momentum, the preseason magazines start to come out, and then your excitement level starts to rise, and then you start to get positive. Like this is a cycle that happens every single year, and there's a lot that could go right for LSU this year. I mean, Joe Burrow could end up being best quarterback LSU's had since Mettenberger. Giles could end up being a 1,000-yard receiver, first since Beckham and Landry. Maybe that running back by committee thing will work. Maybe Damian Lewis is a great left guard, and Garrett Brumfield seamlessly transitions to center, and there's no issues. Maybe Fulton is eligible. Maybe Cole Tracy, the place kicker, becomes a stud and is a Groza Award finalist type deal. But all of that is just a lot of maybes, you know what I mean? And so my guess is some of them will absolutely go well, and some of them won't. And so you just sort of average the difference, and against that schedule, it's just hard to imagine it being like a 10-2, 9-3 type year. But if they do, good for them, Good morning, Sean. Jamie says, I'm sick of the Ogeron getting fired, or he's poor hire conversation. Let's focus on the season. Seems like most people want him to fail. I don't think that's the case, Jamie, but I think you're also naive if you ignore that conversation exists. And it's not just local. Like those are national odds that were put out that have at the top of the list. So I mean, international. I mean, it's a sportsbook putting that out. I don't know how you can just bury your head in the sand on that. Like it's a real possibility. I mean, LSU's a program that's been accustomed to winning 10 games and being in the championship hunt every year, and they're not right now. Daniel says, I think if Ensminger is a disaster, Ed will be shown the door. See, the tough part, maybe, but the tough part about that too is with all the turnover offensively, I think anybody coming in to call plays, there's going to be a transition. I mean, just new quarterback, 3 new offensive linemen, lose your top 2 running backs, top 2 receivers, new offense. And anybody that comes in, you're going to have a transition period. Buddy says Oliva should have been going after the Les Miles debacle. I don't disagree with you, buddy. That's one thing that, that certainly was on the table. But the board, the old board, was very split on their allegiances. There were some that were very pro Joe, and there's some that weren't. And they never had enough support one way or the other to make a move. So, but that was a bad look, no doubt, and a series of bad looks. Let's see. Ryan says, as for the quarterback situation with the hype around Brennan all last year, should we be encouraged with Burrow or discouraged by the lack of progression? Yes. I don't think I'd be discouraged by the lack of progression by Brennan. It stinks. I know I've talked about this before, but had Brennan led them back against Troy, he started the second half, he would have started the rest of the season, and he would have had a whole year of experience under his belt, and Burrow's probably not on this roster. I think they would have liked for Brennan to come along more quickly, but guy's still just entering his sophomore year. I mean, sometimes you got to give guys patience and time to grow into it, but LSU's lack of success at the quarterback position has made that a bugaboo. Nick, are you kidding me? Look at the softball coach he hired. Honestly, Nick, it's his best hire. I mean, I love it. I'm serious. That's Nick Torina, who's Beth's husband, obviously. But Nick, you're not wrong. I can point that out all the time. And it's funny because they had that whole situation. I know you remember it, but they had the guy from Alabama who came. They introduced him, and then a day later he left. And so then Joe had to go scramble to find a coach, and of course got Beth from FIU, and it's a great move. I mean, it's hard to argue with those results. I mean, I've said it before, my opinion is, and I've told her this before, Nick, so I hope she's not watching right now because she doesn't like or she's told me she doesn't like when I say this because it puts too much pressure. But I think she will be the next coach to win a national championship at LSU. Because if you keep getting to Oklahoma City, you keep getting in that tournament, eventually you're going to win the tournament. It doesn't. I hate to say it this way, but in a tournament format like that, sometimes it doesn't matter how great of a coach you are. I mean, all you can do is just put your players in the best position and hope that they go, like, your pitchers have a good day and your hitters swing and make good contact, and you can only put them in position to succeed, and eventually they're going to win that tournament. Aaron, good morning. Mark, good morning. Corey, good morning. Justin, why does LSU pursue Oliva? Who does LSU pursue if Oliva is ousted? I think the first call you make is Scott Woodward, obviously. He's the LSU alum, worked here under Emmert. Obviously, he's been at Washington, and then, he got Chris Peterson to Washington, and now got Jimbo to A&M. I just think the big question is, if you're Woodward, would you leave Texas A&M? And if he did, probably the only job he would leave for would be LSU. Okay. He's excuse me, y'all. He's in a good situation, College Station. You got a lot of money, you got a lot of resources. You got the coach that you wanted, championship winning coach. A lot of reasons to stay put. And again, Oliva hasn't even been fired yet. So, all right, let's see. Let's scroll through a few more of these. Mark, LSU should close practice the media, keep that element of surprise. God bless, Mark. I appreciate you watching every day, but that's so annoying to read. It's like you don't, as a fan, don't even, like, do you understand NFL practices are open? Like, by rule, every NFL practice is open the entirety of the practice. Like, fans can go watch practice. It's like, if you think that there's some super secret high-tech stuff going on behind closed doors, what have you been watching on the field for the last decade? Come on, man. Like, it's, the paranoia of that is annoying, and as a fan, you should want max coverage of your team. And when practices are closed and access is limited, that hurts you, the fan, because you don't get the information and the access to your team that quite honestly you deserve, and it makes it harder for us to do our jobs. So I hate seeing stuff like that. But I'm sure Ed will close practice just like he did last year. Hope his attorney doesn't have a giant inflatable. Nice, Janet. Let's see. Man, I'm backlogged on questions here. If Joe Oliva would be fired, I talked about that one. Kerry, you said earlier in the week he wasn't able to be on the sidelines on game days. Has he been practicing this whole time? Yeah, Fulton has been practicing. He just hasn't been able to be with the team on game days. Roll through here. Randy, good morning. Troy, good morning. 1 year of eligibility is gone, even though he didn't play in the game. Correct, Jen. He technically could use it as a redshirt year because he did not redshirt in 2016. But still, you're limited. You got 5 to play 4, and one of those is gone. Actually, you know what? I don't know. Let me correct myself. I don't know if he can count that as a redshirt year. And I think Ross was trying to get clarification on that as well. I don't know that he can count that as his redshirt year. I think that does take away a year of his eligibility. Bobby, good morning. Rusty Senatol. Justin Robinson, good morning. Andrew says, if Coach O wins, the whole conversation changes instantly. Absolutely, especially against the schedule. If he goes 9-3 against this schedule, yeah, he's back in 19, and with a loaded gun too. Absolutely. That's just going to be a big ask this year. Ryan says, Oliva hitched his wagon to O. O hitched his wagon to Z. Yeah. Nate, good morning. Matt, how many games will Coach O have to win to keep his job? Nate, I've answered this question a bunch too. I don't think it's a number. I think there are 3 games that I'm circling. Auburn, Georgia, Bama. I don't think LSU can win those. If he manages to win one of those, you feel like you're close. Like, you feel like you're still among the elite in the SEC. But if you lose by 2 touchdowns at Auburn, if Georgia beats you at home, and then you lose again to Alabama, you don't feel like you're close to being among the elite in the league. And let's say you throw in another loss like at Florida or at A&M or something like that. You don't feel like you're close. And I think that's where it's not so much a number. Because, like, last year they won 9 games and they went 6-2 in the league. That was the best since 2012. But when you actually look at what they did, they had 2 wins all year against teams that finished the season with a winning record. Auburn and Texas A&M. And A&M fired its coach. So you had one win against a team that finished the season with a winning record and kept its coach. One. So, yeah, I mean, it was 9-3 and then the bowl loss. But look at the losses, man. You know, it's hard to ignore losing to Troy. It's hard to ignore losing by 30 to Mississippi State. It's hard to ignore losing again to Alabama. So it's not the number. It's how it looks. Sean, good morning. Kevin said, every time an O hater tells me they want him fired, I respond with, who do you want to get? And they always get silent. Kevin, quite honestly, anybody. I would take Larry Fedora. I would take Justin Fuente. I would take Mike McIntyre. I would take anybody that's a proven head coach that's actually accomplished something as a head coach over Ed, who's accomplished nothing as a head coach. So that was a more complicated question with Les, because Les had won championships. He won 2 SEC titles and a national title, and played for another of each. Like that was a relevant question for him. Like, could you hire someone better? Hiring someone better than Ed Ogeron? Bro, come on, man. Let's not act like you got the second coming of Nick Saban standing on the sideline, dog. Come on. That's an easy question. Like literally anybody that's had successful seasons as a head coach. Danny, good morning. Robin, I love having the discussion of reality. Matt is spot on. This isn't a hate-o conversation. It's reality. Thank you, Robin. A lot of people, and listen, I get it. The day he was hired, when my opinion was not liking the hire, I knew when I came out against that hire that I would have to face this for as long as he was the coach. I knew it, but I had to be honest. Like, I couldn't. I'm not going to lie to my audience. I'm not going to fabricate an opinion just to appease people. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, Ryan Oliver, good morning. Jeff Lewis, good morning. Blake Battaglia, good morning. Uh-oh. Are you trying to pull that wire over there, dude? Please don't do that. Thank you. Let's see. Get to a couple more here. Danny, good morning. Justin Robinson, good morning. Blake Brumley. Scott Kuchia, good morning. Corey Landry, good morning. Let's see. Jordy says, everyone want Coach O out worried he's going to lose. Let the kids play one game. Damn, people chill. Tell that to CBS Sports and Bet Online and all that stuff. I just think people realize that the possibility for how the season could go. Kyle Larison, good morning. Meridoc, I'm trying to positively compare this LSU team to offensive championship year with Cam. Hey, Meridoc, I love you, dude. They had Cam bleeping Newton. Cam Newton. Cam bleeping Newton. And also defensively, they had Nick Fairley, and they had Michael Dyer at running back, and they had 5 senior. That's another thing people forget about that 2010 Auburn team. They had 5 senior offensive linemen, 5 starting senior offensive linemen. Hi. Please don't let that be your expectation, Meridoc. Please don't let that be your expectation. Jason, Kevin. Hey, my dad's watching. What's up, y'all? Ignore that sad face above. Was trying to read the whole comment. Oh, I didn't even see, man. You're all good. Chuck Sanchez, good morning. It's all right, Meridoc. All good, man. All right, let's see. Probably about to wrap up here. Boudreaux's, the Bloody Mary mix, the Margarita mix. Great, awesome people, local company. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Y'all do me a solid. Follow them on all their social media. If you're in Baton Rouge, Calandro's has it. Alexander's has it. Calvin's has it. Mid-City Wine and Craft has it. If you're in Houma, they have it at Canada's. Great local company. I love supporting the local companies, especially ones that support us. So do us a solid. Find some Boudreaux's. Go buy it. Like, you'd be doing me a great favor if you would like go to one of those stores and buy this off their shelf. That would be fantastic. So, and like them and all that stuff on all their social media. Let's see. Any more questions? All right, so probably wrap this up. Hit the share button if you haven't already. It's the way we kind of grow and build this, is by hitting the share button. That helps a ton. So I'd appreciate it very much. Comments, likes, shares, all help a bunch. So in the meantime, y'all have a great Saturday. Hit me up with comments. If you're watching this late, comment and I'll come back. I always come back and read them later and reply to some of them. So I appreciate that. And until tomorrow, we'll see you on Morning Scone.